was down in Florida. On my way there, I noticed about 2.5 miles away from the venue, cars parked on the sides of the roads and in the lawns. And I have to tell you, it was amazing. A couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I just said, hey, I'm going to be in Florida. I want to look you in the eye, and I want to tell you something. I want to tell you about the plan that's coming next year. There's going to be a change coming, so I'm not going to admire the problem anymore. It once again showed me that the paradigm has shifted when I saw these cars. What we're experiencing now is really a ticking time bomb that they designed about 100 years ago at the beginning of the progressive movement. And they thought, you know what, if we just do this and this and this and this, over time, if we do it in both the Republican and the Democratic parties, we will have our socialist utopia. Well, I say again, two can play at that game. The crowd was a little overwhelming. It was, the official number was 25,000. They told me unofficially that it was closer to 35,000 people that were there. People had one thing in common. They just want liberty for their children. They would like some principles and values that this country was founded on to show up from time to time. So we've got the mass numbers. There's a lot of people. You have a movement, but it doesn't seem to have any teeth to this movement. Well, I thought maybe there's something to this, what do they call it? Community organizing. David Horowitz is here. He's the editor of Front Page magazine. David, how are you, sir?
Hi, Glenn.
So, you know, I've been reading some of the stuff that you've been saying, because your online stuff is fantastic. And as I'm reading it, you say, first thing you have to do is invert the myth. What does it mean to invert the myth?
Well, in our country, the people are sovereign, and you are tapping into the great, vast population that is beginning the revolt against this system which has been imposed on us. The people, the myth that drives American politics, and it really drives the Democratic Party much more than the Republican, is the myth of the underdog. That everybody in America thinks of themselves as an underdog. The party that appears as the champion of the underdog is going to have an advantage in any election. The Democrats pretend to care about women, children, minorities, and the poor, but in fact they don't. They're building
a great example of that wouldn't be inverting the myth. Wouldn't that be the mammogram thing? I mean, the insurance companies are saying we're still going to cover that. But the Democrats now, the government is now saying, no, we don't need to cover the mammogram thing.
Right. Women are a vulnerable group. The Democrats are operating by the numbers. Of course, everything that you said is correct. I mean, they're imposing a rationing system. Their drive is to get a single-payer system, which means the government will make the decisions for you. And they already let out of the bag the fact that some women are not going to get mammograms, and that means they're going to die needlessly. And the government is going to make that decision. And there's a potential... So what do you get that...
So what do you do to get that out? Because honestly... David,
very simple. Let's have a die-in. Let's do what the left did with the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Let's get our, the Tea Party women out there at all the mammogram centers. Let them have die-ins so that the whole population understands. It's very difficult to get information out in our culture. We live in a, it's just vast. People
okay, so wait, I don't even remember. The die-in is when everybody just would go into offices and they would just lay down on the floor and then they'd have to drag you out.
Right, and they'd accuse Reagan of killing them, of course. Okay. But in this case, it's the Democratic Party that's killing them.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. Conservatives or libertarians, they're just not. That's not what you do. It's just...
I agree, but something is happening in this country. That 35,000 people that came out to see you, the people who did... Conservatives never marched on Washington. That never happened. So it's happening, and it's really the people that's waking up.
So what does that do? You do a die-in, then what happens? I mean, will the media even cover it? And if they do, they'll say, "Oh, these crazy people doing a die-in." What does that do?
They'll have to cover it. If you have if you have those old folks, conservative women, getting out there and lying down on sidewalks to dramatize the fact that the Obama administration is out to kill innocent women by denying them the mammograms. I mean, you know, because statistically, it saves money.
Can I tell you something, David? I have to tell you. I have to tell you, and I'd like to get your response on this when we come back. But it almost makes a joke into politics, because you sit here and you think, oh, I've got older women laying down on camera, whether it's true or not, saying, look, they're trying to kill me. You win. You win. This is what they've been doing for years. Hang on, we got to take a break.
100 years.
We'll come back with your response. Hang on.
If demanding sanity was spending, if demanding that we fight to win every war we get into, if asking and demanding that we hold people accountable, that people who break the law or don't pay their taxes go to jail, not the cabinet. If demanding that we call terrorists by their name terrorists, and if we demand that people stop calling Tea Party goers terrorists, angry mobs, but rather what they are, concerned citizens that have had enough, if that's what destroys the two-party system, so be it. They should be destroyed.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting